Hello, everybody. Ron Callis here with another episode of Automation Unplugged. This is show 75. We had a bit of a scheduling mix-up, so we're actually recording show 75 after we're recording show 76. And Automation Unplugged, as always, is brought to you by my day job over at One Firefly. And it's been a busy time here at One Firefly. We have been very busy developing some new products that we'll be launching to the marketplace very soon. And of course, we're in the last days of the school year. So my son actually has his last day of school today. And if I haven't already said it, today is Wednesday, May 29th at 12:30 p.m. And we have a fantastic guest. We have a member of our One Firefly team here that we're going to be interviewing. We're going to start putting members of our leadership team here on the public stage. So we have Kelly Giles. She's the head of our content team. And I know many of you, if you're customers of One Firefly, or if maybe you've gone to a trade show in the last year or two, you probably have met Kelly. And without further ado, let me go ahead and bring Miss Kelly Giles in for the interview. Kelly, how are you?
I'm doing well, Ron. How are you?
I am super duper. Are you having a good day so far?
I am. It's a great day.
Where are you coming to us from?
Colorado Springs.
Okay,
We're getting some sun out here.
I was gonna say, didn't it just snow just recently out there?
It sure did. Yeah, I woke up to about 6 inches of snow in the middle of May. Not entirely uncommon out here, but was definitely a surprise.
That's great. And you're in Denver or you're in Colorado Springs?
Colorado Springs now.
Colorado. You were in Denver before that, right?
I was, yes. I spent a couple of years in Denver and then moved back down to Colorado Springs where I went to college.
Got it. Well, groovy. We've already got some people popping in here. I did just check our Facebook stream. It does appear so far that technology is cooperating. And I do believe we're streaming, which is very good. If you're out there, say hello, give us a like, give us a follow. And just to get things started out there, why don't you tell us where you're watching from? And we'll throw those comments up on the screen. But Kelly, before we get into all sorts of fun marketing stuff, which I know you are amped to talk about, I always love all of our guests, even our One Firefly-ians. I don't know, is that a word? I think I just invented a word. All of our members of Team One Firefly, or even members of our Team One Firefly, I would like the audience to get to know you. And where are you from? And how did you ultimately land here at One Firefly?
Sure. I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, went to college, like I said, Colorado Springs. I moved out here and it is just beautiful. I'm a big skier, so you really can't beat Colorado for living, daily life, hiking, beautiful area. When I started going to college, I initially thought I was going to be a nurse. I made that about 2 months into my anatomy and physiology class. I was about a week away from having to dissect cadavers and decided that was not the path that I wanted to go down. So I dropped out of that class, actually. Never had to go into that lab.
So you were going to have to cut on dead, like real humans?
Yeah, that's right. People who have donated their bodies to science.
That's pretty gross. Everyone in medical school, what is it? Was that to be a nurse or a doctor or?
A nurse, yes. I imagine doctors too, though.
Yeah, but the class would be anatomy and physiology.
That's right.
Wow. Yeah, that's That does not sound fun. So you decided to opt out of that and you went a different direction. Where'd you go?
I went to marketing. So after, deciding that I did not want to cut open dead people, I thought about what my other options might be. And I went with a major in business with an emphasis in marketing. And I also got a minor in international business. So I stuck with that one after that first couple of months, and that's what I graduated with.
And what school did you go to?
University of Colorado, Colorado Springs.
Got it.
Yes, to the locals.
Got it. And you got a minor in international business. What did you want to do with that minor? Or did that happen by accident? Meaning that you got that along the way towards another degree, or did you with purpose do some extra coursework to get that?
It was with purpose. I took classes like international finance that might not have been top of my list otherwise. But the reason I went after that particular segment is that I find it really fascinating to look at business and really especially marketing as it relates to different people, different cultures, the way different people are living their lives and consuming information, the way different people shop, the way they make consumer decisions. But you can't just do international business, which is what I kept hearing over and over again when I talked to my professors about it. You have to do something, but you can do that internationally eventually. So that's kind of the route I went. I found that marketing offered a lot of the benefits that I liked about international business, understanding people's backgrounds, understanding how culture impacts their decisions, understanding how they think. So that's kind of the route that I went. And then I found that international marketing was pretty interesting as well.
Got it. Do you speak any other languages, or are you like me and you only speak English?
I'm only good at English.
You're only good at English. Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. I live in a household where my wife and son both speak Portuguese and Spanish.
Wow.
And, I struggle with English. That's all I got.
Yeah.
So I feel you. All right. So after you graduated, what happened? Where'd you go? What'd you do?
Sure. After I graduated, I ended up in a job where I gave it my shot at TV ad sales. So I found out pretty quickly that sales was potentially not where I was going to, again, spend the rest of my life. But I learned some really interesting things in working with small business owners, crafting these TV ad schedules, these ad buys for them, and really learning more, talking with them, learning about their needs, learning about their pain points. And about 9 months later, I kind of made that decision that sales was no longer going to be the path that I kept pursuing. But that's
so you got to be cut out. You got to want to be in sales. Sales is hard. It's every career path is quote hard, but sales is particularly thankless because you're a hero one day and then you're back to zero the next day. And I don't know. You got to be a rare breed to be like us crazy salespeople. And I'm not saying that in a good way. It doesn't mean you're good or better. It just means you got to be different, maybe a little off.
No, that's you and Josh. All my respect.
Thick skin, a lot of persistence.
Indeed.
So after you left the TV ad business, what did you go do?
From there, I got my first job at an agency. I found that I really liked agency life. The first marketing agency I worked for focused primarily on higher education. We had a couple of small business clients, but I learned a lot about higher ed, working with teenagers, marketing to teenagers. That was certainly an interesting beast. You learn a lot from, you start to feel pretty old, even if you're not, when you start Googling what are teenagers liking these days.
We have a shout out here, Kelly. I'm going to throw it up on the screen. Ted, your boss was probably great in television. That's not a planted comment or anything, is it?
Not at all. Not at all. Ted was certainly not my boss in television.
Yeah. Was Ted amazing or what? That's funny.
So funny.
All right. Sorry. I rudely interrupted as you were describing.
No worries. So I found, I really liked working at a marketing agency. And as I learned more and more about content marketing and the inbound methodology, I found my theory is that's where everything is going, and that's a much more consultative approach to selling things to consumers, to human beings. So when I saw One Firefly had an opening with that type of background, I kind of jumped on it.
Awesome. And when did you join us? When did you join One Firefly?
All right, I'm gonna show my memory.
I don't actually remember exactly when that. I should have had that in my notes. I know I'm like failing miserably as an interviewer right now.
No, it was January 29th, 2018.
January 2018. Okay, cool. And what were your observations or initial thoughts about joining this custom integration channel? This grouping of small business technology contractors and manufacturers that are trying to, provide solutions around this technology space and enhancing lifestyles with electronics and integration. What were your observations?
Yeah, I will say my first observation was, wow, I do not know as much as I thought I know about technology. So I spent quite a bit of time learning, and I still, of course, continue to learn about the technology that we talk about. But I also saw that, our clients and the dealers in this space are pretty similar to my experience with other small businesses. Marketing is a difficult beast, and most people open up a small business because they're good at doing the thing that their business provides, but not necessarily good at marketing, which is where I find the real benefit of an agency like ours is.
Got it. Was it your, well, I'm going to ask you something really simple, and I'm going to come at you from left field. Okay. And only because I get this question at every conference I speak at or any random interaction. And the answer might be simple or it might not be simple. Should an integration business be on Facebook or Instagram?
Absolutely. Every integration business should be on Facebook, and most.
Okay, well, you got to tell us more, because now everyone's looking at you skeptically through their Facebook and they're going, "Nuh-uh." Why? Why should I be on Facebook or Instagram?
Well, if you're looking at me on Facebook, there's your first answer. There's a lot of people
on
Facebook, and you're
good point.
I
did just walk right into that, didn't I? Yeah. All right. Maybe they're watching it on YouTube. We're taking the recording, putting it on YouTube. They're watching it there.
Sure, that's fair. The short answer is that there are so many people on Facebook still. About 75%, I think. That's a rough number from my memory, but about 75% of all Americans are on Facebook, and about 75% of those people who are on Facebook log in almost every day. So whether you are targeting older population, whether you're targeting younger population, there are so many people on Facebook that's a really great opportunity to communicate with your customers, your potential customers, other people in the space.
Well, there you have it, folks. Kelly has spoken. Get active on Facebook now or else. And what
enough just to have a page, you've got to post to it.
All right, and educate us. What's the difference between why you would be on Facebook versus Instagram?
Sure. So the same person that is on Facebook versus on Instagram doesn't necessarily want to be communicated to in the same way on each of those platforms. If they did, why would you ever join both? So they're looking for different things when they log into Facebook versus Instagram. Facebook is a much more kind of article, content, text-heavy platform. Videos are great, obviously. Again, pretty meta here. Videos are great on Facebook.
Yeah, especially live video, especially Automation Unplugged.
But Instagram is a really great way to show off the personality and to show off your projects a little bit more, kind of get behind the scenes. Show your customers that there's there's not just a website, a business. Of course, that's why we're here, but there's people behind that business who are, doing things every day to help their customers. They've got certain set of values that you can communicate on Instagram. You can show off your projects on Instagram, especially if you take a lot of photos of them, which we recommend a lot. And it's a really good way to kind of humanize your business and demonstrate to potential customers that it's going to be really fun to work with you.
What is, here at One Firefly, we work with integrators throughout, primarily North America, but certainly some other countries too. A little bit of international there, but I guess Canada, that's internet. Is Canada considered international?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's a different country, but I don't know. It's kind of like all the same. So in terms of working, I forgot the damn question I was going to ask you. It was a really good one, Kelly. All right, let me go to a different question I have.
Okay.
I confused myself by joking about Canada. In terms of working with small businesses, right? One Firefly primarily works with small businesses throughout North America. That's where I was going. And you manage now a team of account managers and staff on the content side of One Firefly that are working with these small businesses. And there can be some challenges in terms of getting a hold of them. A lot of times our customers are the business operator, they're the salesman, they could be project managing, they could be managing an HR issue, all of the above. And there are, there's just certain amounts of patience and persistence you have to have when working with small business, because they need the help, they want the help, but you got to maybe work with them differently than you would work with, say, Fortune 500 customers. How do you think about that? How is that maybe similar, different to what you did in the past? And then how do you work with your team in terms of making sure they're effective?
Yeah, so something that I see often with small businesses is that they don't necessarily have as many processes in place to handle things like really fresh leads. So we're doing all of this work on our end to generate interest, demonstrate to potential customers that you'd be a really great fit to work with them. Maybe they even go on our lead concierge, they live chat and say that they're really interested in a certain project. Maybe it's a $100,000 project. That's a really hot lead, and it will start to get cold in not just the days following that initial chat, that initial form submission maybe, but even in the hours and minutes following that submission. So where a lot of really big Fortune 500 maybe companies might have those processes set up for sales to be reaching out immediately, some kind of follow-up touch to happen really quickly after that. Small businesses don't always necessarily have that type of process set up. So we do a lot of coaching to help them figure out, what can you do? How quickly can you get on these leads? How can you make the most of all of this work that we're doing for you and all this work that you're paying us to do for you?
No, that makes sense. And Ted actually just posted a question. He says, Kelly, what marketing tools are most important for small businesses that are just getting started with marketing? Could you maybe expound on that and give us your opinions?
Sure, absolutely. If you don't have a CRM, a customer relationship management system, you need one. You need one like today. That should be your afternoon project. So that would be my first answer. Some way to manage all of your customer information that you've got. Obviously, you need a website, and you need it on a platform that allows you to post fresh content there, to rank in search results, and you need it on a solid content management system as well. I think we work with Joomla most frequently.
Yeah, we work with, you could be on any CMS, but when we develop a new site, it's in Joomla.
Yeah, the most important thing is that you're able to get in there and you're able to update things. You're able to work on it.
Got it. Well, Ted, there you have it. Kelly has delivered some great feedback there. Kelly, do you mind expounding on this concept? I mean, when I stand on stages, and fortunately the spring season is over, so my standing on stages, I get to take a break for a little bit this summer, and I'll next be up at CEDIA. But when I'm standing on stage, I'm often talking about the customer journey, right? You've probably learned and or experienced that a lot of our integrators are receiving a lot of their work through referral, right? So the concept is, Mrs. Smith, receives a system from you. They love you as an integrator. They had a great experience. They tell their neighbor, Mrs. Jones. Mrs. Jones goes, wow, that's an amazing system. Who did it for you? And they say, Acme Integration. And, what happens next? What do a lot of businesses think happens? And then do you have a perspective on maybe what really happens?
Yes, I do. So I imagine what a lot of businesses think happens is that somebody says Acme Integration and gives them a phone number. That person receives the phone number, types it right into their iPhone, and calls them day or night, whatever time that may be, right?
And then gives them, their credit card number over the phone.
Exactly. Yeah. That's everything.
That's simple. Done. All right, guys, the interview's over. No, so what really happens?
Sure. So in advertising, there's something called a rule of 7. And the concept, I think that this is a little on the low end right now, actually. We're getting bombarded with marketing and advertising messages day in, day out, no matter where you are. You could be, sitting in your home, never leave the whole day. If you open up Hulu or if you open up your smartphone, you're getting ad messages. So the concept is that in order for somebody to remember your message, remember your brand, they have to hear your message or see it visually at least 7 times. So what does that look like as far as a referral goes? That means that when somebody says Acme Integrations installed my system, that person likely has heard of you somewhere before if they're going to remember that name and if they're going to retain that information. People also don't typically hand over business cards to their friends. It might happen. I'm not saying it never happens. It definitely comes up once in a while. But what I think is more likely is somebody says, I'll text you the name of the company. You're kind of on your own from there, right? I'll tell you what I liked about them, but good luck. So after that, they go on, they might trust their friends a lot, but their friends are different from them. So they're going to go do some research to see if this is the same kind of company that I would want to work with. So they're going to go Google your name. They're going to check out your reviews. As much respect and I might have for my friends, I also want to see what other people say too. Because that's one sample size where I might have immediate access to, 20, 30 reviews on Google, on Facebook reviews, on Yelp. I might have access to a lot of other information. So every time I go in and I take a look at another name there, that's another touch. So maybe that referral was the first time they heard of Acme Integration. They're going to go look on Facebook reviews. They're going to go look at the website. They're going to go look at Google reviews. They're going to read through a blog if you have one. They're going to see what type of other people have worked with you and if you would be a good fit for the project that they have in mind. So there's a lot that happens both before and after that referral. But when you ask them at the end of the day, hey, where did you hear about us? They're going to say their friend, of course, because to them, that's the most important place. They want to give their friend credit. They don't know if you have a referral program. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. We're kind of conditioned to value our friends higher than Google, of course. So that's the one that typically comes up most often. Somebody says, I heard from you from my friend. I really loved the house that you did.
How important is it for an integrator to know who their typical or maybe best type of customer is? And how would they go about defining that? Like, what's the process? Like, so my first question, it's loaded. Does that matter? Of course, I'm leading you because it matters. So you're going to tell me why you think it matters. But then how would they go about actually defining that? And then I'm going to ask you a follow-up question once you kind of explain that to us.
Okay. So yes, obviously it does matter. You're leading in the right direction.
Right.
It matters because if I understand who not just my typical, though typical is important, but my best customer matters even more, I might say. If I understand who I would love to see more customers of, maybe 100 more customers of tomorrow, whether that's my most profitable customers, maybe it's the ones who are easiest to work with, maybe it's the ones who don't end up with a ton of change orders, whatever that means to you, whatever best customer looks like to your business. It's important to understand that, because once you understand what that person's needs are like, once you understand what they're looking for, once you understand what their pain points are, you can really effectively talk to them and show them why you are a good fit to meet those needs.
And how would an integrator, someone listening to this or watching this, how would they go about learning what their typical customer is? I mean, more than the obvious. They know Mrs. Smith bought a system from them last week, but is there a more scientific approach or method to actually documenting that?
Yeah, if you don't know where to start, my first recommendation would always be go to your employees on the ground, whether that's your sales staff, whether it's your technicians. They're spending a lot of time with your customers. They're learning about them. They learned that, your client was 10 minutes late to the meeting because they needed to stop at Starbucks because they are a caffeine person. They're learning a lot of little details like that. So that's a really big resource that I think a lot of people don't necessarily take advantage of.
And let's say they've now bottled up or they've documented that who their typical customer is. What do they do with that? Like exactly what do they do?
Yeah, first you want to document it all down. So everything you can get about that ideal customer. So whether that's, what are they looking for? Why are they calling you in the first place? What are their friends like? What do they do for a living? Do they have kids? From there, you want to take a look at your online presence and see if your website, if your blog, if your content, if your Facebook page, all of those things would appeal to that kind of person. So if I know that, my typical or my ideal customer has 2 kids, so they're really worried about, security for their house, then are my blogs and is my website kind of appealing to that? Am I letting them know that, hey, I have this certain capability, and this is why I recognize that security is a really big concern for you?
So I'm not gonna tell the audience too much, but I'm gonna give a tease that One Firefly has upped our game, and we've gone through processes in recent months of actually documenting through interviews typical buyer persona types for our industry. And, stay tuned for how those are going to now be working their way into our products. And it really will be ultimately top to bottom, left to right, front to back. You really need to know your customer. And if you know them, then you can really be quite effective with your messaging and your marketing. So that's a little bit of a tease just for the audience. So more is coming there, and Kelly is busy captaining that effort. So I know she's itching to say more. Kelly, you are, when you joined One Firefly, you joined us as an account manager called a CMS, and then very quickly you transitioned into a leadership role. Can you just talk a little bit about how that happened? And then I've got a follow-up question or two for you.
Absolutely. So I joined January of last year, as I mentioned. And at that point, the department really didn't have a manager. There was no specific leader for the team. So we were actively looking. The company was actively seeking out that kind of person. And I said, hey, what if I threw my name in the hat for that? Never hurts to try. So I interviewed. I went through, all of the processes that we have set up for that type of role. And about 3 months after I started, I moved into the manager position.
Got it. And congratulations. And you've been doing an awesome job since then. How how do you go about managing a remote team? Because you're in Colorado Springs and your team is, where is your team located? Tell our audience, where are they coming to you from?
Gosh, my team is everywhere. I've got people in California. We have people in Pennsylvania, Florida, Texas, Ohio. We've got people everywhere. Kentucky. So it's much different, I think, than managing a team in person. There's a few key things that I think are really important for managing a remote team. One of them is that you've got to trust your people. You have to hire really well, really strategically. And once you get them on the team, you need to trust them. Of course, you need to set them up with the right training so that you have the right information in place so that you know what they're doing. But once you are able to put all of those things into place, train them well, coach them well, you have to trust them. And then put some really specific targets in front of each of those people. So everybody on my team knows how they're being measured. They have access to view those insights, not just once a year, but multiple times a year. So, somebody's annual review comes up. It should never be a surprise how they performed over the last year. They should know, did I meet my deadlines? Did I not? Things like that. So being able to put those targets in front of them, being really specific about those metrics that we measure. And then when somebody raises a flag, like, hey, I'm having some trouble doing X. I'm having some trouble meeting my deadlines. I've tried everything I know. I'm out of ideas. That's when you got to jump in and help them out, coach them, see what's going on, and talk to them.
Awesome. Great feedback. All right, we got a comment here from Stephanie. And let's see here. Stephanie says, go Kelly, best of the best. Coming at you guys from Miami. She says, at what point do you think is the best time for, let me read this, best time for integrators to begin working with a marketing agency? What do you think there, Kelly?
I would say the day that they...
We allowed to say yesterday?
Yeah. The benefit to working with an agency, especially for small businesses, but also for, really large businesses too, honestly, is that to pay somebody on your staff to do your marketing for you is a huge expense. Whether you're talking maybe $40,000, $50,000 a year, and that's just salary. We're not even talking benefits and all of those other things. So working with an agency, you're able to get a lot more than you even might get from that one person at a much lower cost. Often, of course, there are some exceptions, but often. And the benefit for, I'll put a little One Firefly plug in there. Yeah. If you can find an agency that specializes in your industry, you're even going to get a lot of really nice insight and a lot of really cool expertise that you might not get otherwise. So that's my little One Firefly plug.
No, that's great. And I've got a comment here from Allison. She goes, yay, Kelly. Awesome show today from Allison. All right, cool. So you guys, if you comment, we throw your comment up, we read it. It's going to be recorded for posterity. Kelly, we're going to wrap up here. And there are going to be folks that are listening or watching that are at various stages of their business. They could be mature businesses. They could be brand new businesses. Do you mind, from your perspective and what you've learned and what you know, could you offer maybe just a few items of a few recommendations, maybe as it relates to marketing or anything else that you've learned as it relates to business and running an integrator running a successful operation? Maybe a few tidbits or takeaways?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll come back to a couple of the things I've said so far. Make sure that you've got a process in place to handle a lead when it comes in. That fresh lead can be invaluable.
And I'm going to highlight that of when I've taught courses, and I'll poll the audience, how many of them have a CRM? It stands for customer relationship. What is it? CRM, customer relationship. What's the M? Management. Very few in the audience of when I'm polling the CEDIA crowd, the technology contractor, the integrators, very, very few. I want to say less than 5% probably are currently running CRMs. So I think, to Kelly's point, that's a really smart thing to investigate.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. What else you got? You got one more for us, Kelly?
One more. Yeah, take a look at your online presence. See, everything that you know about your customers so far, pretend that you're them. Pretend that you are this, whatever you want to name your ideal customer. You're Ian with 2 kids. Your kids are 8 and 6. You've got a certain amount of income. You have a certain type of house. You have a certain number of houses. Pretend that you're that person. Go take a look at your website, take a look at your Facebook, your Instagram, take a look at your whole online presence, your reviews. See if your online presence would appeal to you as that customer. So think really critically about how you look on the web.
Kelly, will you be willing to come back on the show sometime?
I suppose.
Possibly. Are we going to see you maybe hosting some One Firefly webinars or other sort of content in the future? Maybe.
We could see it.
We could see it. It's possible. Well, you've heard it from Kelly, folks. Well, Kelly, thank you for joining me on episode or show number 75 of Automation Unplugged. It was great having you on.
Thanks for having me, Ron.
Awesome. All right. There you have it, folks. We have our very own Kelly Giles, our head of our content team. She runs a team. I forgot to ask her, but I want to say she runs a team of 15, maybe 15 to 20 folks or so that are under her leadership. You have account managers and writers and project managers and social marketing people and pay-per-click people and all sorts of fun stuff. So it was great having her on. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll be back with you next week for our next episode. And in that next show, I'll have all my show art and my guest lineup ready to go for you. In the meantime, I am going to ask you again, if you have not already, go over to Instagram and be sure to follow us there. Again, we launched this page back in September. And we're pretty active. We're post almost every day. And it's always fun, interesting content, both about marketing in general, but also about our team. So you can get to better know all the cast and crew that make up Team One Firefly. So on that note, thanks again for joining me. And I will see you next time. Thanks, everyone. Be well.